Welcome to another episode of the Project Fit podcast. I think it's like episode number 25 now. Steaming along. So I want to make this a short, sharp, sweet one. But a lot of my clients were talking about gut issues and digestive health, and I thought I'd just dabble my toe into it a little bit. I've helped a few people with these kind of issues before. I wouldn't say that I'm a gut specialist or a gastroenterologist, although I've worked with them before in a previous life. But I want to give you some, kind of basic tips around how to manage the gut, and how you can make yourself feel better, right? Okay. So number one, first of all, let's just give some background and some context to this stuff. Your gut is your second brain, right? It has its own nervous system. It communicates directly with the brain, has a massive effect on mood, energy, and ultimately you've got to remember that the biggest input, into the body, apart from what goes through the brain, is into your gut. It's also the biggest part of your immune system. It's where you get your energy and your nutrients from. So if you don't look after it, then it's not going to be pretty. So here's a few basic things to help you ensure you stay kind of gut happy and healthy and feeling good. Okay. Number one, probably the easiest win for everybody is just hydration. Being hydrated, obviously everything in your body happens in the presence of water. Like there has to be a liquid around for 99% of all interactions in the body. So making sure you're hydrated is probably one of the easiest things that everybody can do. Obviously help get things through this, your gut, your intestines, etc. And obviously helps you with the back end as well. So if you're struggling to go to the loo, getting a bit constipated, then obviously just start to look at your water intake. Number two, fiber. Most people will probably want to shoot for about 20 to 25 grams of fiber each day. Now, obviously, that's a kind of a recommended level for most people. Most people can't take too much more. Most people can't take too much less. So again, if you're feeling like you're always a bit bunged up, then make sure your fiber is in place. And just bear in mind that if your water intake is not in place, then fiber doesn't get flushed through as well. So please make sure you've got fiber and water together. Often what can be handy for people is a fiber supplement. You can get them from most kind of like protein places now, but like Protein Works, etc. They're really, really handy, just to help keep moving things through. Mix up into your shake, plug it down. There you go. Number three, and I think this is a really big one. I think we're finding that we have more and more intolerances. But that's because generally we tend to eat the same foods all of the time, right? So time's gone past, we had a bit more seasonal variety, right? So maybe autumn, you'd have a bit more fruit in your diet. Wintertime, we aim for a bit more soups and broths. But now we kind of have the same food right throughout the year. So there isn't that kind of turnaround time of different nutrients, different, food sources coming in. So one thing is probably vary your food sources, make sure you've got a nice variety of fruits and vegetables. The other thing that's probably really, really key, though, is just making sure that you become aware of what you're eating and how it affects you. Okay, so often people eat things. So you have something at 1 o'clock, and then it's normally not straight away, but often about 2, 3 o'clock, you start to notice that you feel a bit bloated, you feel a little bit delicate, a little bit, or stomach's not feeling good. And it's important. This is why sometimes tracking your food, especially from just a general health perspective, not even just from a fat loss perspective, just from a general health, like what did I eat? And then just looking at how you feel afterwards has a massive effect. I had a client, a lady by the name of Caroline once, had really bad gut issues, had been to gastroenterologists, regularly going to the loo or not, and it's just a right mess. And one of the things we did was an elimination diet. So what we did was, and you can Google elimination diets, are really, really easy to do, is we went back, we took out milk, well, we took out dairy in general, then we took out grains. Then we slowly introduced them back. And what we found was, in this case, if I'm right, it was grains that was a problem. And it all cleared up. No problems. So make sure you track what you eat, and then you'll know how you feel afterwards. Yeah. So I think that's a really big one for most people. Like, most people aren't aware of what actually causes the problem. And so if you see that something, you eat something a couple of hours earlier and then it's a little bit later, there might be that delayed reaction of it. So yeah, by all means, track your food, even if it's just from the point of view of, what am I consuming that's making me feel this way? Now, often people will go, bread makes me feel bloated, which is fine if it is the bread. Here's the test. Eat the bread by itself without the marge, mayonnaise, 5 slices of ham, pickle, avocado, and everything else on top. Just eat the bread by itself and see what the impact is. Yeah, because that's a massive one. Obviously, the other one is lactose is often a big one. You can go for things like soya milk, coconut milk, almond milk, as well. And you can go for, like, there's things like lactose-free cheese as well nowadays. So there's one for everybody in there. One of the big ones also is what we call a FODMAP diet now. FODMAPs, and I can never say it, oligosaccharides. So basically there's a part of sugars and carbs, and people have a problem digesting them. A FODMAP diet is a little bit more restrictive, but it gets down to the point of, right, well, if it's making you feel like crap, then don't do it. Simple. Another one that has a big problem potential is alcohol. Like, I've often found, and this is my own kind of, I don't know, Shelly down the road view on it, but sometimes if I have certain drinks, it's been a heavy night in the past, I don't do heavy nights anymore, I'm too old for that stuff now. But often I find that if I have a lot of drink, the next morning it tends to give me a bit of a stomach issue. So just be aware that often alcohol also doesn't help when it comes to your stomach. So yeah, so those are kind of a few tips around the kind of the bloat, etc. But often it's a trigger or something else. And the last one I would obviously just really, really hammer home is managing your stress. Like, if you're stressed, then your digestion is going to be off. So what you've got to remember is, when you're stressed, or when you're competing in a sport, or if you're doing some activity, the blood will draw away blood. The body will take blood away from the gut. Yeah, so if you can give it this way, you've got food in your gut, so the body goes, right, let's send lots of blood to the gut to make sure that it can do its job. If you then are stressed, or you try to exercise too early after eating, often then the body goes, oh, well, we need to divert our blood now to the muscles. And that's why you get that horrible feeling in your stomach during exercise if you eat if you eat and then you try and exercise too quickly before it. So yeah, I think that's a really big one. Managing the stress, keeping stress low, can often have a massive impact. So, walking, getting good sleep, just dealing with the shit you got to do in your life instead of letting it hang over you too much. Meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, all those kind of softer things that, then yeah, get rid of them. The other thing that's, I think, on the rise as well is what I call whey protein belly, or just protein shake belly. I've seen a big rise in people saying that, after ingesting lots of shakes all the time, the stomach doesn't feel good. And often people as well who have juicing diets as well often really struggle when they start to reintroduce like real food. So yeah, if you're reporting kind of constipation or runny belly, and you take protein shakes regularly, whether that be soy, whey, whatever the brand is you use, just stop using the protein shake. Like, seriously. Take it out, leave it out for a while, then see what happens when you can reintroduce it. So take it out, I'd say minimum 2 weeks, take it out, then slowly reintroduce it, maybe once a day or once or twice a week, see what the impact is. If everything starts to get better, then you know that that's potentially the culprit. And then I guess the one big thing that everyone misses is actually just chewing your food. Like, seriously, people, we need to chew our food. We're all like, ugh, rush, rush, rush. And if you think about it, your digestion starts in your mouth, right? Your teeth are the primary digesters, along with saliva. There's a hormone enzyme in your blood called salivary amylase that starts in that mouth watering feeling. That's there to start breaking down carbohydrate in the mouth, ready to go down to the stomach. So the stomach is awesome. The hydrochloric acid in it is bang on. However, if you've got big chunky bits of food in there, then it's either going to go A, come up, or B, it's just going to be like, oh, this is horrible, take a while to digest. The other thing that people have obviously spoken to me about is also A is obviously chew your food. And I find that if you chew your food properly, you tend to get less symptoms of acid reflux. The next thing is obviously people get acid reflux is because they just rush their food. It goes down. Next thing you know, your body's like, oh, what's this? And it gets that burning sensation. So number one. But people, you need to be willing to look at your nutrition in detail, because if it's not making you feel good, then it means you need to spend a little bit of time to go through what it is that's not helping you. And, having all the over-the-counter remedies are awesome, but I think if you do those basics and then you look at, a medical professional to then really get in depth, if those kind of things aren't working, that's when you know that, that's when you know you need to move on to some form of supplementation. But number one, let's just go from the top, just as a quick reminder. So that sounds like Graham from Blind Date. So number one, chew your food. Number two, take time to enjoy your food, enjoy it, chill. A good, your evening meal wants to be at least 20, 25 minutes. Chilled out, put the fork down. 3, diarize what you eat so you know what's causing the problems. Number 4, keep stress low. So make sure you're doing a lot of the kind of chilled out, parasympathetic activities, Tai Chi, yoga, meditation, walking, whatever that may be. Number 4, try not to eat too close to exercise. And if you do have to be around, eating around exercise, I would suggest the higher carb food rather than fatty or high protein meals. Number 6, obviously look at a elimination type approach. So eliminate certain foods, put them back in, see what happens. And I think if you kind of apply those basics, then you should be fine. Like I said, shake belly. Let's take the shakes out for a while, see what happens. Try and get your protein from some chicken rather than just a shake all the time. Obviously, vegetarians, you've got your pulses, etc., etc. Make sure your fiber is high enough, and that you've also got the amount of water that you need as well. And I think you'll be all good. All right. So those are my top tips to really, focus on the gut health and managing, but obviously if those approaches don't work, then go and see a professional. Do not go and seek advice from Michelle down the road, because that's just not going to work. All right. That's enough from me. Catch you on the next episode.